Resident Evil Revelations 2. Anyone that remembers my review of the first Revelations game will know that I was a pretty big fan. Not only did I see it as a welcome return to form, but it was a beacon of hope that Capcom would finally stop destroying all of their most loved IPs. And now here we are 2 years later, with the sequel that I was so hoping we'd end up getting. Because like I said in my review, Revelations is one of the best Resi games in years. I brought up the point in my Revelations 1 review, and posed the question in my Resi HD review, and in this review I intend to answer, are Capcom finally heading in the right direction? Are they finally starting to understand that the franchise that revolutionized survival horror should probably return to survival horror, instead of doing whatever the hell Resident Evil 6 did? Well, there's only one way to find out. By playing it, and reviewing it, and watching the video of me reviewing it. Just start the video. Resident Evil Revelations 2 mainly centers around Claire Redfield and Moira Burton, daughters of two of the main characters from the first game, Chris Redfield and Barry Burton. I mean, not together. Obviously, they both had kids independently of each other. I don't even know how that would work. It's just the way I said it made it sound like they had kids together. They didn't. That wouldn't even work. The game begins with Claire and Moira enjoying a party. Or at least that is until a bunch of guys storm in, shoot up the place, inject them with weird stuff, and kidnap them. But then again, that's how most teenagers party nowadays. Yeah, you got the joke. Yeah, okay. You know, like, teenagers, like, inject, like, drugs. Next thing they know, they're trapped on some mysterious remote island with flashing bracelets on their arm. As for what the bracelets do, who's controlling them, why they're controlling them, how they're controlling them, and what happens next, I ain't saying. Not only because it'll spoil it, but I can't be bothered. Apart from that, the majority of the game is spent either trying to escape the island as Claire and Moira, or searching the island as Barry Burton and some weird kid. Because if gaming's taught us anything, all middle-aged men need a little girl to bond with. I don't know why, but apparently they do. And as far as stories go, it's okay. The Resident Evil games have never exactly excelled in the story department, and this game's no different. If anything, it's more a case of, how do we put these characters in a scary environment? Oh, there we go, that works. As long as it's functional and serves the gameplay, it's all a Resi game really needs. As far as the gameplay goes, it's more or less what you'd expect. Well, at least, kinda. Although a lot of the same elements are there. Weapons, bombs, green herbs, combining, swapping, and conserving items. It doesn't exactly always feel like Resident Evil. There are a lot of points where it does feel like a Resi game.
Speak for yourself. I've had my fill of mansions.
But it feels like the game as a whole has been westernized a bit. The traditional over-the-shoulder camera's been zoomed out a little bit this time round, making it more resemble a third-person shooter. The game encourages stealth a lot more frequently, and with the ability to throw bricks and see creatures with a weird sixth sense vision, it feels way too much like The Last of Us to feel like Resident Evil. The concept of exploring and searching for key items also feels dumbed down in this version as well, as it either leads you right to it on the minimap, or the characters just spell it right out for you.
Now I know what this is supposed to be.
You know this game's 18 rated, don't you guys? I'm just making sure, because you're treating me like I'm 6. The characters themselves feel out of place as well, one of them being Moira Burton. Almost everything Moira says in this game feels like they're trying way too hard to target the edgy teenage demographic.
What in a moist barrel of fuck is... Well, fuck that place very much. Irony sure is a dick. Yeah, another one of those walking shit stains. Was it good for you too?
It's just embarrassing, honestly, and I know Resident Evil games are known for having cheesy dialogue, which this game definitely has in abundance.
That was almost a Claire sandwich.
Barry tells everyone that story.
The man eats danger for breakfast and craps it out by dinner.
That's one nasty bowl of soup.
But, I don't know, something tells me that Moira isn't cringy intentionally. God, I hate her so much! Some scenes, assets, and environments are lifted directly from other games. This room looks exactly like The Evil Within. This scene looks identical to Tomb Raider. This environment looks just like The Last of Us. This puzzle largely resembles one in Batman Arkham Asylum. Barry and Natalia feel like they're trying to be the next Lee and Clementine. These enemies look, move, and attack exactly like necromorphs. And sometimes the screen distorts based on how close you are to certain enemies, just like in Slender. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what it has come to. Resident Evil, one of gaming's most defining franchises, trying to replicate a free, downloadable game. It's honestly kind of sad. Considering the fact that they had something really good with the first game, seeing them throw quite a bit of it away in the second game feels really weird. Apart from the whole episodic TV serial thing and a few story threads, it doesn't really feel like a sequel to this at all. Another new feature to this game and the Revelation series in general is co-op gameplay. And although I played through the game in single player when getting footage for this video, it was pretty obvious that this game was made as a co-op game first and a single player game second. There were sections of the game that were so blatantly designed with two-player cooperation in mind, and having to constantly switch between characters in single player just felt tedious and slow. Especially keeping in mind that Natalia and Moira can't shoot a gun at all, but instead just serve to help the main player with their own special gimmicks. With Moira being able to find certain items with her flashlight, and Natalia, doing the whole sixth sense thing like I was talking about earlier. We've been through this already. And what this ultimately comes down to is player 1 having all the fun while player 2 searches the area for supplies, which, as you can imagine, isn't nearly as fun. But like I said before, Revelations 2 does still contain some of its Resi roots. Apart from the same characters, gameplay and catchphrases, the ammo conservation mechanic is what helped make Resi 4, Revelations and Remastered feel as tense as they do, constantly putting you in situations that made you feel incredibly vulnerable. Revelations 2 does this as well. Except way too bloody much. There were quite a few points in this game where ammo was almost too hard to come by. This resulted in me often running around completely defenseless, forcing me to ignore herds of enemies and entire sections of the game because there was nothing else I could do. This is also a major problem I had with The Evil Within, but I would go so far as to say that Revelations 2 does it worse. There was this one point earlier on in the game in like episode 2 or something, and I was fighting a boss, and when I inevitably ran out of ammo, the game was forced to give me more, and then I ran out again. And the game never gave me any more. I used all my pistol ammo, machine gun ammo, all my grenades, and in the end I died. And then it happened again, so I had to restart. This just kept happening over and over until the game would eventually start giving me ammo. This turned a tense, intimidating boss fight into a frustrating mess. All of that aside, Resident Evil Revelations 2 isn't that bad a game. The story's pretty cool, the combat is fun when you actually have the ammo. It does admittedly get pretty creepy and tense at times. Maybe it's because I went into this game wanting another Revelations 1, but this game wasn't exactly what I wanted it to be. Just like The Evil Within, it's a game I feel like I'd enjoy a lot more if only they dialed back a bit on the ammo conservation, as well as fixing a few visual glitches and long load times. Apart from that too. Still, Revelations 2 is pretty good and enjoyable for what it is. And when it comes to Resident Evil, sometimes pretty good is good enough.